we were in seventh grader, and I was just writing like I love G all over everything. And my friend was like, who is this G? And I was like, well, it's Giselle. And so I thought that I was probably gay, but then I realized that I was not gay, and then I had to kind of like re-come out as bisexual. I do recall that she had like some words about it, like, oh, well, I mean, you gotta pick one kind of thing, but like, we were kids. She didn't know what she was talking about. She just figured, you know, like bisexuality doesn't exist. And I was like, I think it does though, because I don't think that I'm gay and I don't think that I'm straight.
I have a complicated relationship with my hometown. I think it was difficult for sure growing up, like realizing that I was bisexual there, and really keeping that from my peers, my teachers, my family. And I didn't really feel comfortable being out until I left for college. And I'm still not really out at home.
It's taken less seriously being pansexual. For example, when I came up to my parents, and my dad called me a day later and said, I think it's just you can't find a boyfriend, so you should go to therapy.
If I could describe in one word what it's like to be a bisexual person of color in the Rio Grande Valley, I would say it's complicated. There are some issues that don't tend to be recognized as LGBT issues or reproductive justice issues. The Rio Grande Valley is a community of immigrants. My parents' generation back, everybody was either like a migrant worker or like a laborer of some sort.
I do think there are some unique experiences about being pansexual in Mississippi and in the South in general. Especially in Mississippi, I think the LGBT community is very conservative. So when you step outside of that, for example, I also identify as gender fluid, which means some days I feel more masculine and some days I feel more feminine. You're just seen as more of an oddity, which I think when you're already trying to find a safe space can be a little harder.
In high school, I decided that I wanted to volunteer at Planned Parenthood, and that I was going to be out as bisexual. In the hallway, I was called slut multiple times because of my bisexuality and because I was like a safe sex advocate in high school.
Hearing not just peers say homophobic, transphobic, biphobic things in school, but also hearing that from teachers. And that was sort of the worst thing. So it hurt twice as much, sort of, to hear teachers and administrators and counselors say negative things. I only felt like I got that respect from them when I hid my identity, when I hid my bisexuality from them, when I hid my gender identity from them.
I can be very reluctant to come out because I think there's a lot of fear as to how will this affect my perception in my workplace, how will this affect my perception in healthcare, for example. Just how will this expose me to adverse effects, even potential violence?
There's lots of really great things about living in Alabama. We have a really rich culture here. And I don't know if I feel like I would fit in if I moved somewhere else as a Southerner. I hate feeling like I have to leave in order to be able to have access to a supportive environment.
And I definitely respect people who stay here and fight against that. People always need to stand up against injustice. But I tell a lot of my friends, I know I'm leaving and I wish I could take you with me because the state just doesn't deserve you.
I think it's great. I think the culture is beautiful and rich, and there's something like so comforting about seeing like the big old 10-gallon hats with the big old belt buckles and like the Hound music playing. Like, it brings me great comfort at the same time as I'm like, I wish it was a little bit different. I wish that we could come here with our like female partners, and it wouldn't be like this big deal that we would be afraid for our safety.
When I see the young people that I work with coming out and being open in school and advocating for themselves there, it's really heartening. And it's something that I wish I would have felt comfortable doing when I was younger.
And I've seen more intersectionality between groups, groups recognizing that LGBT people are also affected by different oppressions. And I would like to see more of that. I think that's happening. For example, LGBT groups showing up in solidarity with Black Lives Matter or with undocumented people stopping deportations and so on. And that's starting to happen in Mississippi, which is great, but it needs to happen more.